waiting on God's promises, and staying faithful in the present. Have you ever wondered how to live a life that truly pleases God while facing pressure, distractions, and opposition? Have you ever thought about what will happen when Jesus returns? The believers in Thessalonica wrestled with these very same questions. They were a young church, full of passion for Christ, but surrounded by opposition. Persecution was increasing, and they were suffering because of their faith. Some had lost loved ones and were unsure about what happened to them after death. Others were struggling to stay strong under the weight of trials, and many were eagerly waiting for Jesus to return, but did not know how to live in the meantime. Paul wrote 1 Thessalonians to encourage them, to remind them that their suffering was not in vain, that their faith was not forgotten, and that Jesus was coming back. His message to them was clear: stand firm, stay faithful, and never lose hope. And this message is just as relevant today, because the truth is, we are living in a world that often feels like it is moving further from God. The pressures to compromise are everywhere. Fear, uncertainty, and trials can make us feel like giving up. But Paul's words remind us that faith is not just about believing, it is about how we live. Hope is not just about the future, it is about standing strong today. And love is not just about words, it is about how we treat one another in every moment. In this video, we're going to break down 10 of the most powerful lessons from 1 Thessalonians. Lessons that will teach us how to endure trials, how to stay spiritually awake, and how to prepare for Christ's return. Because the truth is, many believers today are exhausted. Some are barely holding on to their faith. Others have grown spiritually numb, going through the motions, but lacking the fire they once had. And others are so overwhelmed by fear, stress, or uncertainty that they have forgotten what it means to stand with unshakable confidence in God's promises. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like your faith was being tested in ways you never expected? Have you ever struggled to keep believing when life felt overwhelming? Have you ever thought about what it truly means to be ready for Christ's return? Because by the end of this video, you will not only understand 1 Thessalonians, you will understand how to live a life of faith, endurance, and unwavering hope, no matter what comes your way. We have also created a complete explainer video on the book of 1 Thessalonians, breaking it down in a way that makes it easy to understand. And for those who want to go deeper in their study, we have put together a separate ebook to help you apply these lessons to your daily life. Both are linked in the description below. It is our prayer that these deep Bible stories videos help you grow stronger in your faith and walk confidently in the hope that Jesus is coming again. With that being said, let's get started. The most important lesson we learn from the opening of 1 Thessalonians is that the gospel is not just words, it is power. We just talked about standing firm in faith, enduring trials, and preparing for Christ's return. But before any of that matters, we must ask ourselves, has the gospel truly taken root in our hearts? Because Paul makes it clear in 1 Thessalonians 1:5 that the message of Jesus is not just an intellectual belief or a set of religious ideas. It is a force that changes everything about a person's life. Paul writes, our gospel came to you not simply with words, but also with power, with the Holy Spirit, and deep conviction. Think about that. The gospel is not just information, it is transformation. It is the power of God that moves into a person's life and turns everything upside down, not just externally, but from the inside out. Too many people today treat the gospel like a philosophy, like a set of moral guidelines, or like an inspiring message. They think being a Christian is about believing in Jesus in the same way someone might believe in a historical figure. But true faith is more than agreement. It is surrender. Look at the Thessalonian believers. When Paul and his team preached to them, something supernatural happened. They did not just listen, nod their heads, and go back to their old lives. No, the gospel came with power, and it changed them completely. They turned away from idols. Their whole way of living shifted, and they became bold in their faith. Even under persecution, they refused to go back. Because when the gospel is real in your life, you cannot stay the same. This is what happened throughout the New Testament. Everywhere the gospel was preached, lives were radically transformed. In Acts 2, when Peter preached at Pentecost, the people were cut to the heart and cried out, what shall we do? That is conviction. That is the Holy Spirit bringing the gospel with power. In Acts 9, Paul himself, who had been a violent persecutor of Christians, was completely undone when he encountered Jesus on the road to Damascus. In one moment, he went from hunting down believers to preaching Christ. That is power. And yet today, so many people hear the gospel but are never changed. Jesus spoke about this in the parable of the sower, Matthew 13. He said that the seed of the word falls on different types of ground. Some people hear it but forget it immediately. Others receive it with joy, but when trials come, they fall away. Still others are distracted by the world, and the gospel never bears fruit in their lives. But then there are those who hear the gospel, and it takes root, it grows, it transforms. So here is the question we must ask ourselves: has the gospel truly taken root in me? Because the power of the gospel is not just about a one-time moment where we say a prayer and accept Jesus. It is about an ongoing transformation, a fire that continues to grow inside of us. The Thessalonians proved their faith was real because their lives bore evidence of it. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 1:6, you became imitators of us and of the Lord, for you welcomed the message in the midst of severe suffering with the joy given by the Holy Spirit. Think about that. They did not just believe in Jesus, they became imitators of him. They lived differently.